this would be the part 4 of this JavaScript series about testing, about promises, about microtasks, and maybe other concepts. In this video, I would like to focus on finishing the test to make it more robust, more reliable, because I think that doing so, one can be more confident when writing the actual implementation. It wasn't the case for me because I was misled by the test that I've written. So this is a very important lesson. Once again, I think I've mentioned it a few times throughout this little series, which is that it is important to know your tools, to know how the APIs of your tools work, because otherwise you might be misled by the misuse of them. So in this case, I'm going to try to refactor, to try a different approach for my test, because what I want to assert is that after, let's say, 1.5 second pass, I don't want my promise to resolve, because we still have this bug here. And I want to find a way, I want to, let's say, educate myself to write a test in such a good way that the test tells me that, okay, you have something wrong in your implementation. I don't simply want to run all the timers and then check the result as I did previously. Now I try to be more careful about how I think of the cases. So for that, I'm going to try a different approach. I'm going to delete all of this. I'm going to also delete this because I don't need it. And then, and the way I want to approach this is that I want to have a callback, a stub function. I know there are many concepts of mocks, stubs, spice, and so on. This might not be the wrong way to call it, but I want to have a function which I think would be a stub, maybe, that I want to check if it has been called at some point. And let's see how it works. So I have, let's say, result callback, and this would be vi.function, and then I would want to extract that the call of the promise to be like and then result callback. So what I want to do is, after my promise all resolves, I want to call this result callback, and I'm going to have to change some stuff in here. So I want to assert that that in the end, the result callback, let me also make the screen a bit larger. I want to assert that result callback will be called with, to have been called with this argument. So this would be my final assertion. Now if I run the test, I should not expect anything positive, because the spy hasn't been called, and it makes sense because well, I haven't actually simulated the passing of time. So I've done some research, or at least I tried some attempts, and it seems that what I want to do is to, first of all, simulate the passing of time, and then await, or to find a way to flush the microtask queue. And for that, it seems we can do like this. Notice that our function that we have provided to the test is an async one. So it is important to notice this fact, because now we are going to do await vi that advance timers by time async, and let's say that we want to advance the time by 1.5 second. Let's also see a bit what it does. So this method will invoke until specified. Okay, so it will run the fake timers that would have been called after that amount of time would pass. Whatever this includes, await and asynchronous set timers. Okay, I wouldn't say it is very clear, but I mean, it doesn't mention anything about microtasks. But my assumption is that by using await and this function, which is async, it is a way to flush the microtask queue, because at this point now all of the promises or all of the callbacks that would have been added into the microtask queue would have been run at this point at line 25. So now I think it would be safe to me for me to expect that, or maybe let's see what happens if I run the code as is. It says that expect a spy to be called with arguments. So we are not so it means that by hasn't resolved yet, but this means because we get this error, it means that the spy was called but not with the right arguments, which is a hint that we are not doing something right. I would also like to make this let's say a bit more explicit, the test, and for that I would like to say expect result callback not to have been called, and maybe this would be a bit more easy to read. Yeah, that's perfect. It says that expect the spy not to be called, but actually been called once, which is a good sign. Now we can go into our implementation and check for the bug, and guess what? I think we have found it. And now if we run the test, okay, we have passed the first assertion, which is not to be called, but in the end we expect to have been called with some arguments, but it hasn't been called at all. So it means that we have one more thing to do, which is to now I'm curious if I would do like this: advanced timers by time, and now I add some extra 500 milliseconds. I've added some Romanian in my speaking. No, so it doesn't work, because I think for the same reason that we haven't flushed the microtask queue, because at this point there is no async logic involved, so this whole line won't actually magically have a promise that then and in that callback of the then function to have the assertion run as we tried to have in our initial implementation. So I would say that it will be safe to do this. Expect advanced timer by 500 milliseconds. And now if we run this, we should get a green result, and we do. So I think this approach makes more sense, because I think we have more control over when we want to simulate the passing of time and when to run certain assertions. I think this approach is more granular because of that, and at this point I think we don't have any bugs with regards to my promised all implementation. I think that throughout this series we have learned, at least I have learned a few more deeper details about microtasks, about testing in general. So what I want to say in the end is that although I made some mistakes, although I have created some bugs in the beginning, I think this was for the good. I've learned a lot of that. So maybe besides the lesson of learning your tools as well as you can, one other lesson could be to not be afraid to make mistakes, because as it was in my example, and these 4 videos will prove it, you can learn a lot from making mistakes. So this was it for this video, and I will see you in the next one. Thank you.